Okay, so disclaimer.
I triggered Dave right
There's
before
going to
we
be some
started.
things coming out. I was on the Web Whiskey Whatnot podcast.
You were?
Adam
Okay.
Argyle. It's not out yet, so it's coming out.
You two? They paired you two up? That's fun.
Well, he's on. He's the new co-host, and so he's
Adam is on Web Whiskey Whatnot as the host so it's not Chuck anymore? Chuck went to France or something.
Chuck moved to like Italy or something like that. So he's out of time zone range, I think.
So you just got so it's Robbie and Adam.
Yeah, and so anyway, so they sent me a nice bottle of whiskey, but I may have said some things, Chris, that are going to hurt my career. Anyway, I just want to preface this. It's
Hurt
coming
your
out.
career.
I maybe got a little spicy on the takes, but you do it for the clips. You know what I mean? You do it for the clips. So
good. They take a while to edit, don't they? I don't know.
It's probably a 2-week thing, or something.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I can prepare my
your belongings.
Yeah.
Get a box for your ferns at the office.
It's a technology choice. I'm sure everyone knows exactly what I'm thinking out right now. So.
Yeah, it rhymes with pre-act.
Hey, speaking of websites, you're listening to the Shop Talk Show podcast about front end web development. I'm Dave Reaper with Mr. Chris Square. Did you see? So I do want to shout out to Storybook. Storybook is React and Emotion, I think. But anyway, they've been announcing, like, they've been working with that E18E, like the like efficient engineering group or whatever. It's like a group of like JavaScripty dudes who like try to make JavaScript projects better, just through like rigor, basically. But they've been working with them, I think, and like Storybook's gotten a lot better. Like, they've reduced the number of dependencies, which a week like this, where NPM had a huge vulnerability, like, that's amazing. And I just want to celebrate that. I think, like, it's hard to like to untangle the rat king of dependencies, but like, man, if you can do it, that's great.
We like ran the tool against our stuff, and it was like, oh, we just somehow don't use any of those.
Wow.
So we just scooted it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it was in Chalk was kind of the big one, Cinder Sorhus, and it was, but it was like
that's like making colors in the terminal, right?
Which is pretty standard for all these. Even the most basic CLI tool, is going to do that, and then strip ANSI, I think, was one, just like, where it just like removes characters and stuff like that. So, it's interesting. The downstream stuff I thought was interesting too. It's like those are compromised, but if you're a big project and you have it in your crap, that means people installing your crap are getting it, right? So you have to responsibly disclose what you're doing about it. Yeah. Yeah, you have to kind of be like, hey, there was a huge problem, and if you installed anything in this 2-hour window, your whole computer might be compromised because it had system level access, So
yeah, and like, we didn't do that, but it did happen. So
we did not do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
right.
There's a post. We dodged a bullet that I'm reading, and it's not a long post, but it takes me a long time to read. But I think that sums up the whole, like, man,
anybody that's been screaming how insecure NPM is constantly
put another
validated.
Gold star on their hat, right? Yeah, Well, it's a catastrophe. It's literally an open security hole that this guy, I think, got phished, right? To like, hey, update your 2-factor NPM. Hey, we're expiring something, and he's like, okay. And that one mistake, boom, all his like, his base level library that's in these other like 18 base level libraries got infected. And like, if you installed it, it like tried to steal your Bitcoin wallet. Thank God that's all it did, right? Like, it could have done so much more, so much worse,
Yeah.
So, but it was a it was a
I
good...
saw a fun security one on Blue Sky the other day. It was one of those panic guys was posting a letter they got from their Portland area school thing, and they said, there's a problem with accounts and kids' account using the same password from account to account. So once they get one password, they can jump around and get some other stuff, right? So they're like, yeah, this is a real problem. So their solution to the problem was to tell people to not do that and also turn off all your two-factor auth. They don't want to have two-factor auth anymore, because the problem is when your account gets compromised, then the attacker turns on the two-factor auth, and then they have the two-factor auth. It's like, I think there's a little gap in understanding of what's happening here.
Yeah. So what happens is that the burglars break in and they lock the deadbolt. So we gotta get rid of deadbolts.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Oh. But then it turned out there was a little nuance in the thread, and it was that because it's the school district, I'm sure they've done this in Texas, they have in Oregon too, no more phones in classrooms.
Yeah, we have.
And the phone is required for the two-factor auth. So under the guise of better security, they say, oh, you got to turn off two-factor auth. What they're really doing is say, these kids don't have their phones, so they can't two-factor auth.
Yeah. That's maybe fair for kids, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
I don't know what to say about that, but just say it then instead of this.
Yeah. Here's what I want. Can I tell you what I want? This is my $1 billion idea. I keep giving these away. As a parent of a child or whatever, or even for my kid, I don't want them to deal with passwords. I want them to have a little credit card where they badge in to a website or a computer. NFC. Oh, hey, you need to log in. Cool. Badge in. I don't want them managing passwords. I want a passkey through a physical device.
Because they're just going to do a bad job.
They're going to do a bad job. And somebody's going to steal this I look through my son's email occasionally. I don't know if he knows I do that. But it's all password resets. He doesn't remember the password he sets. So he does the reset flow every time he has to log into something. So it's just that's his whole entire life is just doing password resets.
Oh my God.
But a badge in, or as a parent, if instead of having an Apple account, a YouTube account, a Google family account, a Microsoft family account, what do you oh, you want to buy whatever Lububu skin pack on Minecraft? Badge. That's my parental approval badge. If they steal my badge, that's a security problem. That's a financial risk I'm willing to take. But it has to be dumb, right? It has to be so I make big complicated passwords in one password, and then my son's like, hey, I want to install this thing. Can you put your password in? And I'm like, I don't. Okay, this is a half hour of my life. This is, so.
Doesn't passkeys assist in any of this, or not really?
Passkeys kind of, but I also don't want my son... sorry. There's the shared operating system passwords, right? Or like family password sharing. That I don't want, because I don't want him using my bank password just to whatever.
Right.
Check
I
how
set
much
a bunch of
have.
iPad controls on our little iPad, and they work. It's just that eventually there's an override, and I can just change. I can fix this problem easily. But at the moment, she's grown up knowing what my general 4-digit code is that I use for stuff. She just punches that in and gets right through the, Yeah. I can play Barbie Dreamhouse now.
When my daughter unlocked my iPad, my personal iPad, without me asking, I was like, excuse me? And she was like, oh yeah, I knew your code. And I was like, brick.
That's a little, I'll have to change that.
Brick. Yeah.
I don't want to change it,
I want simple, man. Give me simple. Yeah. Just RFID. Boop, boop, beep.
Believe me, the stuff in my life that needs to be very secure after my, my long ago brush on this podcast with the guy who stole my domain name.
Was Turd Ferguson, or what was his name? Chad Buster. Chud Buster. What is his name? Oh.
Yeah, remember when he wrote in years later and being like, hey, sorry about all that trouble I caused you and all that stuff.
I'm sorry.
And then we were like, so are you, did you
are you
reform yourself?
Yeah.
He's like, no.
No. Still stealing Bitcoins.
but I am sorry. It just shows you how complicated life is, you know.
Yeah,
I like that feature Watchtower in 1Password. It's their little like, do you reuse anything? Is there 2FA on some website that you're not using? And so it knows all kinds of crap. It's nice.
Yeah,
Good.
I feel like there
Thank
needs
you.
to be a holiday to go delete accounts or like delete old passwords and
Yeah.
just,
I like half enjoy it sometimes when I'm like not in the mood to do like thinky work, because there are different brain modes. Like sometimes I want to write. I have a lot of writing in my career, as it were, and I like that. And one reason I like it is because I can do it. I can do it like at the pool during, her swim practice.
Yeah,
I can do it at a coffee shop to change. I can do it anywhere, on the couch, on my main computer, whatever.
pretty portable. Yeah.
Right. Coding is best done on the big monitor, sitting where I'm sitting right now, just with the big screen and the bright and the stuff. But then there's some tasks where I'm like, I don't have any brain power at all, but I can change passwords.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
It's a good sit down TV task kind of sort of thing. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes these days I look at the TV and I like go to Netflix and I'm like, oh, there's like a new Quantum Leap or something. Maybe I'll click that. And then I just can't pay attention to it. It comes and goes in waves. Sometimes I'm like watching movies and really enjoying that. At the moment, I cannot watch anything.
I'm the same. I don't know what my deal is. My bandwidth for TV, even shows I like or would in theory love, it's like, I don't know. I want to get rid of everything. But then my kids, love the kids. They each watch enough on different services. I want to like scale down services, but sometimes they're in a bluey mood. That's Disney Plus. Sometimes they're in a,
Well, I can't even remember them all these days because it's like now you have to have Peacock and Paramount and stuff, and that's like stuff I'm not used to that. I thought it was just like HBO, Netflix, and then you really, really, really reluctantly have Hulu. That's my very least favorite one because it's expensive and commercial laden and
Well, in your head, how much does this cost? $10, right? Actual cost $25
like
to $30,
$80 or something.
Yeah,
it's not good. Yeah, exactly. The translation sucks. Anyway, there's one thing I wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to last time was the news about Google or whatever. Because mostly as follow up because we talked about it on this show as being like a potentially very huge moment in our industry, and if you didn't pay attention to that, well, you win because it's a do nothing in the end. That's what I was hoping for. I probably on the record saying that is that this doesn't have a ton of merit to me. Like Google can and should get wrist slapped by the government in all sorts of ways, but the danger was that this, like, whatever it is, antitrust, anti-privacy issue that is in court now had the threat of and had the Justice Department asking for Google to sell Chrome, being forced to sell it. And there was, OpenAI wanted it and didn't Perplexity offer it. There's people trying to get their hands on Chrome. And not just me, but me saying that's stupid and not good for the web in all sorts of ways. It for one thing, it's like a side issue to the actual problem too. The problem had some monopoly issues with search. So then fix the monopoly issue with search. Don't be like, I'm going to attack you in some side way, kidney punch you instead of solve the problem.
Yeah. I think I don't actually know the full result. Like what is changing, stock market seemed to think there was nothing that changed.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody feels like they won. Google doesn't have to sell Chrome. Big win for Google. Google doesn't have to stop paying Apple. Apple doesn't have to stop getting paid. Great for both of them. Mozilla, just a easy street for Mozilla. Same old crap. And Mozilla represents I think lots of smaller browsers that benefit in the same way that Mozilla does. I don't think Mozilla's the only like B tier browser. That feels weird to say, but they kind of are. Browser that gets a search deal with Google. Like doesn't Vivaldi, wouldn't you think? Like how do they roll? And
Yeah, like small house.
yeah, and Google's like, sure, make Google the default. Here's a check that it will employ a whole bunch of you. Enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so doesn't need to go away, but they do. Here, I'll read some of this stuff. Then the Justice Department thinks they won too. So Google's like, sick, nice.
Little Jedi mind
What
trick.
little, yeah.
Man.
Well, here's
move
it
along.
says Google will have to make certain search index and user interaction data available to certain competitors. So they have to open up search a little bit and even UX stuff. Google will also be required to offer certain competitors search and search text ads syndication services, which will open up the market by enabling rivals and potential rivals to deliver high quality search results and ads to compete with Google as they develop their own capacity. So I think how Kagi uses Bing, or isn't that the deal? Ones that are built on top of Bing, that maybe you'll be able to build on top of Google too. That's not going to happen overnight because Google's going to, just because they are who they are and they have a bunch of lawyers, will appeal all of this, certainly. Anything against them, they will, which is a little unfortunate because it just drags it out forever. But oh well. Pretty small. The big stuff doesn't change anything. We were crying, not we, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but what I didn't like is if Google's got to get rid of Chrome and they can't stop paying, they can't pay for placements, which probably would have been a little more fair. The Google just doesn't have much incentive to invest in the web. They still have some, but they'd probably almost, from being pissed, be like, well, why would we employ this huge staff of people whose all their job is to improve the web? It's very ROI is pretty sketchy on these people, right? They will just be gone immediately, I think.
Yeah.
You think they're going to invest in web.dev after that? Hell no, they're not. Farewell. That's what I would think would happen. That is just pure speculation, but I'd be worried so much about that this fruitful period of the web growth is not all Google, but dude, Google contributes a whole bunch to the web. And if that were to disappear, I think that would be really bad. I think browser innovation would slow down. I just think it would be a less good period for the internet.
Yeah, I think, I think the forcing them to decouple Chrome didn't sit right with me, just from they build web products, so why do they, that's a huge part of their business, Google Apps, why would they have to divest of that thing? That was sort of divest of the engine that renders their products.
Let's say Ford was doing super well as a company, and then the government came in and said, you can't make engines anymore.
Yeah,
you'd be like, dude, we're an American company who invented this thing, and we put all the time and effort into making this thing. Why are you telling me I can't build the thing that we build? So
that sat poorly with me, I would say. Or I felt like it was not... It felt like over punishment, I guess would be how I described it. Do I think something has to move on this privacy stuff? Yeah, we need legislation to fix this. It's ridiculous. So I will tell a story. I was in the car with my son, and I'm showing him music, and I'm like, oh, have you heard of Khruangbin? I don't know if you know them, but
Khruangbin, with Texas Sun and stuff.
Texas Sun. I'm like, dude, let's check this song out. I get home that night. What's in my YouTube feed? Khruangbin live show. So Spotify talked to Google, that then talked to YouTube, and I just, that sucks. That's just gross. I wasn't thinking about Khruangbin before, only in this car ride. So I'm just. It's not this. Stop it. You're going to reply all me. You're going to be like, oh, they're not listening to you. They are. Reply all. You suck. You're not real journalists, and I think your network got
isn't that
canceled.
The argument is that your brain is just more tuned to be looking for the word Khruangbin because it's on your mind.
Well, it's in my algorithmic feed, man. I'm not looking for it. It's in there. They put it in there. I didn't oh man, I hope I'm going to just check if there's Khruangbin. No, they
I know. I'm not trying to argue against you, but at the same time, it's like you don't notice every single thumbnail, right? Like,
Oh, I do.
You see 2,000 thumbnails. You
I know
happen
every
to
single
notice
one.
that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guy with weird feet. Yep, fixing the feet. Doing that one. Pimple popper got that one.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Mine is embarrassing because I'll read a little like I'll watch like a Lord of the Rings focused one. I was on a weird Lord of the Rings kick for a while, so that my feed has a bunch of that stuff in it, and it's still like if you go off it for a while, and then it's got Sudoku stuff because I like the cracking the cryptic boys. You see, they had a feature on the Verge recently.
Oh, they did? Nice.
Pretty neat, yeah. They did like an hour-long video with them talking about that community. Pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the algorithm is so dialed in, man. It's banjo stuff for me.
Maybe,
Well,
but I wasn't anywhere in the Kring bin world.
Oh no,
universe,
this
and
happened to you. I happen to also agree with this. This was computers talking to each other about your choices.
So not everyone's happy about this Google thing. I want to call it DuckDuckGo says we do not believe the remedies ordered by the court will force changes necessary to adequately address Google's illegal behavior. So anyway,
Yeah.
DuckDuckGo
should
is
I
not
read
happy,
more of the
and that's
remedies?
Sure, yeah.
Under the remedies order today, Google will be barred from entering or maintaining exclusive contracts relating to the distribution of Google Search, Chrome, Google Assistant, or the Gemini app. Google cannot enter or maintain agreements that, one, condition of licensing of any Google application distribution, preloading, or placement of Google Search, Chrome, Google Assistant, or Gemini app. So you can't have an agreement that licenses it. Okay. Condition the receipt of revenue share payments from the placement of Google applications. So that'd be like Mozilla can't pay Google revenue share for their placement in there, which I'm sure Google could care less about. Condition the receipt of revenue share payments on maintaining Google search. So it's the same kind of thing. Oh, shut up. There was a Google device in 2 rooms away.
And it heard you. See,
Yeah,
it's listening.
It is listening. I really need to turn that off. Yeah, okay. So it's like if some company says, we'll put Google search first and we'll give you some money, Google, but you have to give us money too. Prohibit any partner from simultaneously distributing any other GSE, making Google search engine, browser, or Gen AI. Partner from simultaneously distributing it. I don't think Google wants that anyway. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I read through these remedies and I'm like, these all help Google, don't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, what I liked is this is Judge Mehta, who was the judge in the Meta cases too, which is so confusing. But it's Mehta.
Oh,
Amit Mehta. And this is my favorite quote, which I just think is pertinent. Cutting off payments from Google almost certainly will impose substantial, in some cases crippling, downstream harms to distribution partners, related markets, and consumers, which counsels against a broad payment ban. If all of a sudden ain't no daddy Google money, the downstream harms are many.
Yeah.
It could affect Apple's willingness to invest in they stopped getting a $20 billion check. How's the team over at Apple doing?
Right. Well, and I think it, is just ends up being this sort of, I mean, it's going to immediately become underinvested. And then, what do we get next? So I don't know. It's kind of like a huge, downstream harms is a great way to put it. Like there's a huge fallout.
I'm glad you listened to that, because that's what I would have said. Like if you called me up and said, what do you think's going to happen to this? In 2 words, I'd say downstream harms.
Yeah. I mean, just again, I'm on team more lawsuits in general, but I think, that like situation is just purely I think that would be a apocalyptic event for us to like have a big shift like that, and maybe people are rooting for that. And I don't know, but that felt like an apocalyptic kind of event. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that all there is to say about the Google thing at the moment?
Yeah. I mean,
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Perplexity tried to buy it.
Yeah, I remember.
For like more than what they
were
are
worth.
So
What happens in that scenario?
I don't know.
Jeepers, I can't imagine.
How much are users worth? That's sort of the question, right? So.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. And like, do you fully get it? I remember. I think it was Alex Russell. While I was weighing in on this, was he does sometimes he uses his words a lot with the writing, and was like, you don't even understand how expensive and complicated just one little Google release is. Just the bandwidth cost alone to distributing an updated giant software product to the world is like, you think you got those bucks too? Not only the sale bucks perplexity, but every single time you hit new release, point release, you're just blasting money out of your butt.
Yeah. No, I mean, you ever get in that situation where you like kind of like DDoS your CI server because like you have like 10 pull requests that are all hitting the CI server, and then they like you merge and then all the CIs have to like re-update their pull requests, and like you just kind of like end up in this like everything's going to take a long time to flush out this queue. I was talking to somebody over in the Edgeland, and they're just like, oh yeah, I think a lot of people set up all these things to merge in the middle of the night because like they're like, or they'll stay up, to like merge late because they know no one else is trying to merge stuff, and because it's just merging something into Chromium is such a big operation. So it's not like a one button I'm done, So it's a big piece of software. So.
I found another HTML attribute that I thought you would like, so I just wrote it down quick. It was it's the translate attribute. It controls whether it's like okay for the browser to translate one particular element and its children in HTML.
Interesting.
So yeah, well, what I thought you'd like is the values, which is not. It's not the presence of the attribute or translate false, like Booleans, because it's actually a Boolean. It's whether you want it translated or not. But do we use true and false, Dave? No. We use no and yes.
Oh, good. What a fun
So you say
new
translate.
value.
No. I don't think it's due. It's just funny to me when we don't use Booleans for Booleans,
Right.
Translate. No. I just like
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
it's really funny to me.
That makes sense. I guess like you don't want to translate your.
I always remember back in my Wufoo days, there was one that always confused me, and I was as part of there'd be a piece of JavaScript that you copied to embed a form on a page. And then when you were doing that, you could pass in an object of options to the endpoint that put your thing there. And there'd be like a header that would be like the name of your form and some description of the form and stuff. And some people like to turn that off because they were embedding it on like a WordPress website, and the title of the page was kind of like the reservation for my wedding, and then it should just go into the form. It shouldn't say reservation for my wedding, then have a header that said reservation wedding form. You don't need to see it twice. So there's an option, and I always thought it would be like header. It was instead of show. I always thought it would be like show header false. Wouldn't that be like the API?
Yeah.
But instead it was header hide. You had to pass
Header
the
hide.
string.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting, because it does read nicely. You're like, header, hide. I didn't hate it because it was very specific. Like false doesn't have any implicit meaning. So now both of the two words both have meaning. Header has meaning and hide has meaning. Whereas show header false is like show header has meaning, but false is like it doesn't have any meaning by itself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, some HTML attributes, it's like the presence of it triggers it, right? Like I think like aria selected, something like that. Like you can set the value to true or false, but just the presence means it's selected, like it registers. So you actually have to remove it to unselect it,
Yeah.
So like, I do wonder if like hide header is maybe a good one. But you could have also done header no.
Hide
no.
header and show header with then they have opposite Boolean values. Yeah, that's
Or
what's so
like
tricky
one's
about
the
APIs.
default and one's the override, right? Like hide
Right, so you'd pick the one that's the most common, which is not hiding the header. Oh
Yeah.
API.
But you gotta like decide that, right? But yeah, you should probably have a mirrored API just in case, somebody decides different or wants to show the header later or whatever, So yeah, that's tough. If you're a embedded widget though, you have a little flexibility. It's weird when it's somebody else has implemented your code. You don't really get to change the values and the attributes after you've shipped, That's what we're experiencing. It's like, oh, we shipped it. Oh, that's not great. So we need to change that. And now how do we tell people to change that? So
You've got a good blog post, many years on the job, and I still don't get it. Was that just a venting thing? I felt it was worth mentioning. I kind of liked it, just a reminder just how much work isn't coding in coding jobs.
Yeah, I think it was just the other day. I was just sitting around. I was like, there'll be days I get to like the end of the day, and it's like I've been sitting at this computer all day, and I have no like commits or PRs, new PRs or whatever, but like I think I just, was feeling unproductive or whatever, but then I was like, like I'm looking at my to-do list, I have all this stuff, like my to-do list is full every day and I'm knocking it out, but it's like not always code, right? Like, so you have to I think you have to. I'm going to make it personal, not put it on other people. I have to accept the fact that a lot of the job, more of the job than I am probably comfortable with, is like these sort of glue work things, like clearing out issues, checking my email, making sure that's done, replying to people, making sure I did a security bump update on some program, or like that's all part of the job, and I think like you can like look at like lines of code or number of PRs or hours in chair and be like, what, I didn't do enough, or but like sometimes you did, or often I think you did the job, it just does not manifest itself in code. That's how I feel, some days, it just didn't.
I think that just is universally true, and then it also has a dial. Like if you're doing so much of this that you have pretty little time to code, then there's some kind of like job. There's something's got to change. But like you'll never need to like not help your teammates understand what you're doing, and not look at issues, and not check your email. Those are things that like every job is going to have to do. But if you're so backlogged with non-coding tasks that you have like 2 hours a week to do that, there's just like something wrong too, and the dial needs to turn. Somebody else needs to help or something. No, I mean, I think it's a balance, right? Like what was I hired to do versus what am I doing,
but I think it's process, like reading somebody's PR and evaluating that's not code. It doesn't show up as code, but it's helpful, like gets things through, or being a sounding board for ideas. That's also helpful. I think that's just straight up useful, like if you have this like technical idea, and even if you think it's pretty strong, and then you have some meeting or something and y'all just sitting around talking about it, and this happens to me all the time. They have some like a better idea, another take on it, and you're like, oh, I almost like jokingly scoff at him, like, oh, that's better. Damn it. I hate that
idea. It's better, but it is,
Yeah. Well, and
I don't actually hate it, is the idea,
No, I mean honestly, the willingness to offer a bad solution that kind of works is as valuable as somebody who's like offering the perfect solution or something, or it's easy to think my solution is the perfect solution, and then you go off and spend hours and hours and hours coding it, and then in PR, I think you said this the other day, you know, it's like in PR, somebody's like, hey, did you think about doing this? And you're like, ugh, I could have saved 5 days, you know, if I'd just done this, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's worth even talking through an idea before you go off and do it, you know? So
Totally. Maybe even sleeping on it, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we punt and we're like, I don't know, I don't like any of these solutions really. Like, it can be against the idea of like being quick, because I do think,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I struggle mostly with slowness. That's like is an actual problem for me and my company is slowness, and so that needs to be thought of too. You know, if you can just go infinitely slow, all your decisions will be amazing. You know?
Yeah, that's the twist. Like, you know, time is money, money's luxury. You know, like there's even like this like element of like, oh, it's not urgent, and you can just sit on like. Then is it important? Like you get into that Eisenhower matrix, like urgent and important, you know? Like if it's not urgent, why are we doing it? You know, like that's, you know, but I think like it has to be important, I guess, and not urgent. It can't be unimportant and unurgent. That's a bad zone.
Yeah.
So
the world is so hard.
Anyway.
Well, do you want to do some nerd stuff? I've been looking at a couple of CSS things recently that you know have been out for a minute. One is at function, seen that one, and if as well. So they're different, but they do have some relation to each other. And as I started going into it and looking at it, I'm not going to have like deep insight here, but I think people might be nice to know what it is, and then we'll do a little. Although I'm going to have you vote on something and see what you think here. So I think I will actually
do a screen share.
Yeah, and then just be conscious about the mouth blogging as usual. I just need to prepare myself a little bit. What app are we in? Riverside? Amazing what River can do. I will share my screen, and I will allow it, and I will select the window that I want to share with you, which is...
see a
got it?
pen. See a code pen.
What about the
2.0.
size? Should I make it smaller?
It's good. It's it's a little. Yeah, that's a good aspect ratio. Sure.
Okay, fine.
4 by 3.
At function is cool. There's so many functions in CSS already. Those are just like in JavaScript, a word with a parentheses, you know, and you pass arguments to it. You don't have to. It can be 0 arguments, but usually the point is passing in an argument of some kind. But you know, I think there's like 100 of them or something. There's kind of a lot, but at function makes you can make your own, and then you get custom idents, right? Just how we always like that. Like if you're making up a word, it should be a custom ident practically. I think that's nice. The arguments that you pass in are custom idents as well. And then somewhere in the function, you have to, otherwise it won't do anything, have the result property, and the result is what gets returned out of that function. There can be multiple results in a function, and then the lowest down one, weirdly, not weirdly, like the source order lowest one wins. Even if it's a media query or whatever. I think you can kind of see that. And this one, here's a result. I kind of like this one. We'll focus on this for a second. The function is called -- column logic. And the result is, well, I want 1FR, 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 3 repeated 1FR columns. But then there's a media query within the function that says, like just a straight up normal looking media query is the width less than 500 pixels. Well, then the result of this custom function is just 1FR, one column. So you could call that, you could say grid template columns, and then the way that you call a function is -- the custom ident you wrote, and then just put the parentheses. And then that is enough to know it.
Parentheses.
-- and then the parentheses is what makes it, you know, be called. Just like in JavaScript.
Yeah.
You can see how I'm abstracting away the logic of what's happening with my columns up here in this function, instead of doing it down here in this kind of more like declarative area, I guess. Yeah. So that's why I have some of this commented out code, is that this is what it might have looked like in the past, is that we write it like this, and then we mix the logic right into here. which is
you'd have like your
it's
grid
fine,
template
but-
columns, and then you'd have a media query inside of there. You could nest the media query, but in older CSS, you'd have to, put it back at the root and then redeclare the grid. Like
Yeah.
you'd like.
So that's what I want to show you,
Yeah.
actually, Dave. So let me jump into that. I put this little document together. So I'm like, God, there's so many ways now to do this. So again, everybody close your eyes. Imagine a
Mouth
grid
coding.
with 3 columns, except for when the browser window is less than 500 pixels, then it's 1 column. 3 columns, 1 column. 3 columns, 1 column. Okay. Number 1, the way we used to write that is like this. A grid class, his display grid, and then we said grid template columns, 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. Then, before CSS nesting existed, we'd have to write the media query, then repeat the grid selector inside of that, and then put grid template columns 1FR. So it's these lines of code. And honestly, it's not really that bad when you look at
Not
it that
that bad.
simply.
9
But
lines
you're
of code.
repeating a couple of things, Dave. You're repeating the selector, and you're repeating the property that you need to repeat. So
Right,
it's like,
right.
I don't know. Like, if you were going to argue against this code, perhaps those are the 2 things that you would poke at. CSS nesting gets rid of one of them immediately. You can put them a little closer together in the code, which I always think matters. So now you have the grid selector, which you only ever write once, and you write grid template columns inside the grid selector, and then nested within that grid selector is the media query. Then you don't have to repeat .grid because it's just implied. Anything that's inside here applies to the grid, and then you say grid template columns 1FR. So I would argue that 2 is just almost just straight up better than 1.
Yeah.
Except for that you might be repeating this media query a lot of times in your code more than you would here. Because if I had other stuff going on, like some footer changes or whatever, now there's only 1 media query that's doing all of this work rather than the nesting style.
Yeah, and that's maybe better. Like you have like co-located logic or whatever, right? You don't have 1,000 media queries. You have 1 media query.
Maybe,
but-
right? Instead of having to repeat this. So it's depending on which thing are you repeating more? Which thing
Yeah.
is more problematic?
But
I'm
I think
not
number
sure.
2 is pretty like, that's, or I think
Generally
your number
agreed upon as better.
I think your
Yeah.
number 3 here is kind of what we do though internally. Is
Do you at Microsoft? So
Well,
there's
yeah.
now there's a custom property called calls, just meaning the
Dash
value
dash
for
calls.
grid template column. Dash calls. 1FR, 1F1F, 1FR. Now we set grid template columns to that variable. Then at the nested media query breakpoint, we reset the custom property of calls, dash calls to 1FR. That's interesting, and now we're not repeating the CSS property grid template columns. We don't need to do that. It's like one less problem.
Yeah, and like, I think what's neat about this pattern is you're defining calls inside grid there, but it could be defined on the body, and shared across many things. And then you have like,
Exactly, you're right. Yeah.
So there's, I think like, or like a token system, like what if that's dash color brand or whatever, right? And it could
Right.
be like, anyway, I think that's sort of like a cool
That would
pattern.
be the advantage, right? Your variables like this, you'd probably declare a little higher up than you immediately need because it improves the shareability.
But you could also then override that variable, and you're saying no at this in this situation, make it this, right? So that seems yeah.
Cool. So then number 4 is the function stuff that we just looked at, is that now instead of just a custom property called calls, I'm going to make calls actually a function, and the function has the logic baked into it. So now I have the result of the function calls is 1FR, 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 but there's a media query inside the function where the result changes to 1FR. Now, this is what I was talking about source order, Dave. If I put this here, the media query would never do anything because the result is lower now.
I guess that's like JavaScript. It's like last wins, right? Like
It's source order matters here, but source order is a different concept than like execution order, because I could like do weird stuff like declare a variable down here, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to like not have the variable even if I use it up here. It's like that type of thing does not matter in CSS. There's no like execution order.
Right. It does add this weird. But if you put like, if you wrote that in code, if it was result or whatever, background red, and then you had the media query, actually.
Well, here's an example of it, Dave. I in this style, was confusing to me at first, is I have this function column logic, and if I uncomment this out, I put a supports query in the function as well. That works. Now, because every browser, I put color red in the supports query. Yeah. This will never be the result. This will never be the result. This one will only always be the result.
Because every browser
supports it's the lowest one down, and is supported.
That's a funky edge you got to know. That's good. I like to know that.
It's funky, but I kind of don't hate it somehow.
Yeah.
So that's number 4 is when you abstract the logic into a custom function instead, and you use that.
How do you feel about this? Because I like this from I am pulling logic out of my template or out of my component, right?
That's it, Dave. Like, it makes this piece of code. We think of CSS and we say that's a declarative language. And it is. This is declarative. This is declarative. But to me, like, this is declarative. Like, it's just a declared function or something. But this is like more declarative. This becomes like the part of the code I look at when I want to like visualize what's going on. I want to like see what's all applying to the grid. And the fact that I don't have to look at a bunch of logic in here feels nice. It feels like this is the more declarative part.
My grid template columns is whatever -- calls parentheses decides. Like, and so then, now my logic's over here. I mean, it creates more work for me when I'm debugging. I have to like go now fish through another lake, but I think that's cool. Right,
and the more you do it, the cooler it gets, I think. Like, abstracting logic away is just, it can be nice. None of these are wrong, but I don't know. Is that an improvement? Maybe. And the thing that's maybe a little not fair about this is we're using a function that doesn't take any parameters. And the more parameters you use, the more logic is likely to be happening in the function, and like probably the more valuable that abstraction is. Unfortunately, you can't even do this, Dave. You can't even go, I'll take the breakpoint then, and I'll use it here, var -- breakpoint, because media queries don't take custom properties. That is just not a thing that works.
Right? Is there at custom media?
It's going to be at custom media. Eventually, there's going to be a thing called at custom media, and I don't know why we don't have it yet, but we don't. It just seems to come up an awful lot. So let's have it.
It's funny how like we get all this cool CSS, and then what do I need? I need this thing that doesn't exist.
The one more thing that's not there.
Like, I'm probably the worst, but it's like I could really use custom media. I've never needed it really ever, but now I kind of like super do. So So wait, you got number 5.
So there's one more.
Yeah, I'm
one
curious.
more.
Yeah, what's happening here?
So you'll notice in number 4 that there's 2 results, and remember we talked about the lowest one down wins. So it's just a little funky or whatever. What the if function then can do in CSS, this is the first time I mentioned if, is that it kind of smashes together the value all in one. So now we only have one result function, but it's functionally the same. And the if, like the structure of if is like this, Dave. If parentheses, and you go condition, value, semicolon. Condition, value, semicolon. Condition, value, semicolon. Else value, if you want to. The else is a keyword. And in these conditions are like media, or they are supports. Or there's a third one. What is it? I can't remember what it is right now. It's so obvious, and the only reason I can't is because I'm doing it live. No, it's not container, sadly. It's something really obvious that you'll be like, duh. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on with the if function, and we're just using media here. So here's the condition. The media is less than 500 pixels, so you get one FR. Otherwise, you get all the rest. very kind of like, does that read better than
It's a little
number
bit like
4
a
or
switch
any of them?
statement, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Did we
there's
mess? Did we? Oh, no.
yeah, it should be switch maybe because of all the different. You never have
Like
to
it's-
write. Else.
I think that reads better.
I can't
I don't
decide.
know. I can't decide. Yeah, I think if you had multi
It
conditions,
looks funky
like
to me.
like let's say you had like 10 different breakpoints
Well,
up at
exactly.
the
What
top.
if you had
like,
that?
now that's easier than if you were to do it in the number 4 example. Like
Right.
so because if you had
What
10
I did
different
there for the people listening
Yeah.
on audio is I made like 8 conditions. And
Yeah.
they're all stacked on top of each other, and it really does actually. I think I agree with Dave. That looks nice.
that would be and you're getting into like we've been dealing with these card layouts, and it's like if you have like height and width that you're trying to do, like that would be probably better to understand. Like just I don't know, longer is more complex, but
Yeah.
because if you like go up to number 4 and like copy that media query and put like 10 of those.
Oh, right.
you-
How's that looking now? Less good.
Get me out of
maybe,
there.
or-
Yeah, I don't want to
Right.
do that. So I think I like if in that other situation. But
Yeah, you're right. The more complicated this stuff gets, the syntax becomes
the more useful
clear.
if becomes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
because I bet you can do like this. Like the white space is fine.
yeah.
Yes, that kind of looks
Oh,
nice. That makes
yeah,
it look
yeah.
extra switchy to me.
See,
Um,
I'm
Turns out
put
it was
me
a
in,
switch
coach.
all along.
Put
Yeah.
what? Hired idiot. What would we? Resident, whatever, idiot, expert idiot. That's what I want.
Pretty neat though. This is spec'd out, and it should just eventually come to other browsers.
Is it
It is
shipped?
very much
Sorry?
Chrome only. Yeah,
It's Chrome
one.
only right now.
I think at Function is the newer one, which was Chrome 139. I see. I'm showing my dirty laundry. I'm back on Arc, but I was convinced that I think this guy that spent $610 million on it is going to want Arc cruising along, and but then I was immediately bummed out because Chrome was on 138 and Functions were on 139, and I'm like, oh god, I'm already regretting switching back to Arc or whatever. I had to use Chrome Canary for a minute. But then I think or if is older and is like Chrome 136 or something like that. So they're in stable Chrome now, which is something,
I was going to see. It doesn't look.
which
like
means
it's in-
Edge too and all that.
Yeah.
I've somehow like drawn the line where like when I talk about this stuff, I don't say Blink and I don't say Chrome and friends, or I just say like
Right.
it's in Chrome, and you're just gonna have to extrapolate that yourself.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right,
Yes,
well, what's
sorry.
your vote? You got to vote? You gonna go
I'm
in
gonna
with 5?
vote. I mean, I think I'm a 5. I think 4 is probably my day to day. 5 is maybe my where I'd like to get to, because I assume are they
Yeah.
coming out at the same time? Is that kind of the thing? They're bundled.
Well, no, it'll be two releases staggered.
What
But, it'll be
is-
this year.
What is the fallback? Like, or can Lightning CSS bail me out? Do you know those?
Good question. What is the fallback? Is there was one that had an interesting...
I mean, I guess you could always just
fallback.
be like grid template columns 1FR as the fallback, right? Like you could, or like that's the default, and then you do grid template columns -- calls. So
I haven't thought deeply about this, but it might be in the category, just for me personally, where I just don't bother if it's not.
oh yeah, display grid with a fake grid template columns is going to be 1. Like it's a 1 column grid by
Oh, like
without-
if this fails, what you get is grid template columns 1FR, essentially.
yeah.
Well, in that case, that's
I think
Like,
I
you don't
like
even need
it.
the-
Yeah,
that's actually pretty good. Actually, in
that's
this
pretty
exact case, it's pretty
in
good.
this case it works. I think in other cases like color swapping and stuff like that, maybe it works
Right.
less. But
Yeah.
is it how bad? Like one thing I'm thinking about is like layers. Like I put a card on a background and then somebody puts a card inside a card. Like these layers.
Yeah.
And you want to like darken over time. I think I've talked about it here before, but like, could you do that here? Is there a way to do that, with these if statements and stuff like that, or these sort of app functions? I think it'd be kind of cool to see, experiment with that. So,
yeah. I don't know, this gets more complicated, but this is an example from Bramis. There's a light dark function built in, not dash, but just light dark.
Yeah.
And it returns the light version in light mode and dark version dark mode, but they have to be colors. This is a function then that, respecting the media query, can be anything. Can be a digit or anything. I think that's kind of neat, like this changes the font weight a little bit in dark mode and not in light mode or whatever, or in light, you get it.
Yeah.
Just kind of an interesting idea.
Well, we're looking at some like internationalization stuff with our tokens, and I think there's like, we're going to build a whole new theme, and like, that's cool. But what if you just say if laying China, then, or Chinese, like, then do a few swaps, update a few tokens to match what they need, like, don't do a whole thing. Like, we can all use the same file that's intelligent, and intelligent CSS. That's my a book apart.
That's about intelligent CSS. Oh my gosh, this is the time to write this with all
Jeffrey,
this new stuff.
I know you're listening. Bring it back, bud.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Fire up warm up, grease up them presses.
Get the presses going. Intelligent CSS. That's where we're at. So, yeah, it's cool. I don't know. It's a cool era. I've been messing with light dark too, and light dark's fun.
Oh my god, I like it more than I should almost.
And yeah,
I just
it
keep
feels
coming
like
up with if you for example, if you put color scheme light dark and you're using it, you're like committed. Like, you kind of have to start using it in a way.
Yeah.
So and you really want that line, because then you get like the dark form styles and the dark scroll bar and the dark check boxes and all that stuff when you're in dark mode. Like, it's a really easy opt-in, but as soon as it's there, now every time you write the word background color or color, you gotta think about it. And a way to like chill that out and feel less like about it is, well, there's light dark, so just put 2 colors, it's fine.
Yeah, or variables, background color,
right.
Or what, background primary, and then it's like, that has the light dark in it. You didn't have to think about it again, like.
Yeah, you just used the property, the custom property. That's beautiful.
All
right, man.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out. Website of the week, Matthias Ott. If you've not seen his new website, is
did he redesign? I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's very similar, sort of. But then you go click the little levels button in the top, and just have a fun spin on all the little knobs he's giving you.
Holy wow. Are these SVG filters? They must be.
Yeah, he really messed up his website. It's great. It's like computer crashing levels of fun. So, yeah.
Tremendous. How fun are these? Wow. Grit. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have fun with that. That's
fun.
Rules.
Yeah. So, anyway, speaking of like variables and just like, how far you can take it, that's a really good example. So, yeah. Well, cool. All right, we'll just wrap it up because we're over time and I probably have a meeting. So I'm like 10 minutes late too. So thank you, dear listener, for downloading this in your podcatcher church. Be sure to share it up. That's how people find out about the show. Follow us over on the Mastodon, the Blue Sky. Do one of those good ones, and then join us in the Discord, patreon.com/show. Chris, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Nope. Gotta go. Have fun. See you later. Everything's awesome. Bye.